Hola Shakers! Welcome to this next tutorial where we will go through the process of connecting your Raspberry Shake to Node-RED. Now, Node-RED is a really cool programming language that is perfect for starting kids out and introducing them to computer science and really writing programs. It's a visual flow-based programming language, as you see in this graphic here. It's browser editable, so it is the server, the actual program, is run on your computer or on a Raspberry Pi, but you can go on through and connect through a IP address and the port to edit your flows and see a really visual way of doing things from that, which is really helpful. It's powered by JavaScript. That's what's the next level below it, and it is perfect for education. It has really varied applications. It can be used with hardware, Raspberry Pi. It can also be used to make websites. It has really cool graphical user interface capabilities, and of course, it's open source, and we can go on and edit it. And it is really easy. Is a really low barrier to entry. So let's start about how to connect our Raspberry Shake. Now, first, we need to have, when we want to connect our Raspberry Shake to another device with Node-RED, we have to find that device. A Raspberry Shake, we recommend that you use a Raspberry Pi. Almost all Raspberry Pis who have Raspbian, who have the Noobs image, can just run Node-RED super easily, and they just have to be connected to the internet, and boom, Node-RED starts. With Node-RED then running, you can connect onto Node-RED from the local Pi interface, from the browser on the Pi, and type in localhost port 1880 if you want to find that editable Node-RED interface there. Or you can connect to the Raspberry Pi from another device. If you know the IP address for the Pi, you can type in that Pi's IP address, type in port 1880, and then be able to edit that flow. Now you can also run a Node-RED server on a laptop or desktop if a Raspberry Pi is not available. This is a bit more tricky because you have to first download, install Node.js, which is the language below Node-RED, and then you have to download Node-RED. And it's not too difficult, but it's definitely, we recommend a Raspberry Pi just for ease of use. You can start out quicker. But right now, for example, I am running Node-RED on my laptop. You'll see that in a second. So once we start running Node-RED on another device, we can start connecting our Raspberry Shake. Now, Raspberry Shake, as you may have seen before, has this really cool feature called UDP Stream. And UDP is a user datagram protocol. It's a way to send data, a whole bunch of data especially, really quickly over a network. Now, Raspberry Shake can send its raw seismic data, the raw just numbers, over a local network, and it's just super fast. And the cool thing about UDP is it's always sending, and there's no talk back to say, did I get it? Yes, I did. There's another protocol called TCP, which most of the internet is run on, like websites and email, where there is that two-way communication. But UDP is especially useful for our purposes because we just have a whole bunch of data and want to shoot it to another place. And what we do here is we take our Raspberry Shake and start opening up we start aiming and throwing the data to whichever device is running Node-RED. Node-RED can be a receiver for that data, and then take that data, start doing input, and etc. So now let's start the configuration process of the Raspberry Shake to set up the UDP stream. So here I've gone to my Raspberry Shake that I have right in front of me, and I put my IP address right up here, and here's my front end. To get to the UDP streams, we go to Settings, UDP Streams, and here are the UDP streams that I already have running. And we can see here that the UDP target host, now this is the device that I'm sending the UDP data to. 10.18.102.135 must be a computer that I have here sending data to, and the target port is like the door that you send the data to. So it's like, think of UDPs and IP addresses and ports as addresses. The IP is your house address, and the port is the door that you're entering to. So, you know, what if port 888 is the side door, then you can then go on to your, when we set up our receiver, our UDP receiver, we will say, okay, we have our side door open. We have port 888 open, ready to receive data. And that's how that connection works. Now, when you start to add a new device in, say your Raspberry Pi that's running Node-RED, we have to figure out what our local IP address is. Now, on a Raspberry Pi, that's not too difficult. You can hover over the little Wi-Fi thing, like that's the thing that says Wi-Fi, the little applet, and it'll tell you your IP address. Now, when you're on a laptop or a desktop, it's a little more difficult, but that doesn't just tell you right away. So what I like to do is go to my terminal. Terminals are kind of scary things, but they're not too bad once you figure out a little bit. Command prompt terminal, depending on what you are in Apple, and you should be able to type in either IF or ipconfig, and that will tell you a list of your IP configurations and etc. Now, wireless LAN adapter Wi-Fi, so I'm connected to Wi-Fi, that sounds right. IPv4 address, this is my local IP address, 10.18.102.101. Now, over here, 10.18.102.101. Let's double check that that's right. 10.18.102.101. Yep. Now, target port. Now, this is the door, as you remember. And I like to always use 8888 because I know it works. And that's just the port I use. There are other ports that you can use to send and receive UDP data, but I'm gonna keep it simple with 8888, 4 8s. Now, in order to start the UDP stream, you have to go add and then save. It's important that you do both of those things, and this little thing comes up, UDP streams have been saved. Now that UDP streams have been saved, I should be receiving the UDP data on my on the Node-RED. So I shouldn't be receiving the UDP data. That's wrong. The Shake is sending UDP data to my device. Now I just have to set up a way to listen to it and receive it, which is what we will do in a second in Node-RED. So we've done the first part. That's called configure the Shake, so the Shake is sending Node-RED data, sending seismic data to my device. Now, Node-RED is the receiver and processor of that data. We've set up the input. Now we have to set up the process, and then we can do more after. So to get to Node-RED, I'm on my local device. So what I can do is type localhost, because this is my local device, port 1880, and that's colon 1880. And that should come straight up. Wow, because I'm running my Node-RED server already in the background, this is my Node-RED that I'm running from my terminal. I can just put localhost 1880. Now, also, I'll just show this for convenience. If localhost doesn't work, try 1.2.1, which is also localhost. Same thing. And if that still doesn't work, make sure you can take this IP address, the one you just sent the data to, the local IP address that the Raspberry Shake is sending data to, that's 10.18.102.101, and paste that into your browser and go port 1880. That way you're sure that we're on the same IP address that the Raspberry Shake is sending the data to. So let's work on this stream, the 10.18.102.101. They're all synonymous. Localhost 127.0.0.1, that is the local host, and then This, I've just taken my actual IP address that I figured out through the ifconfig and put it in. So this is what our flow space looks like for Node-RED. Here we have our input nodes, our output nodes, function nodes, and then a couple different types of nodes like social, storage, advanced, Raspberry Pi nodes, and dashboard nodes. All of these have their own different functionalities. We may get into those in later videos. But right now, we want to connect our Raspberry Shake to the Node-RED. So we set up a UDP stream. Now we want that UDP stream to be an input. So let's look at input. The nodes, this is called the palette. So we're looking at our palette, and that's like our painting space, right? So in our palette, we'll look for our colors, we'll look for the node we want to put in, and look at that. Here's a UDP input node that produces, let's see what that says, a UDP input node that produces message.payload containing a buffer string, and it supports multicast. Perfect. So this UDP node should create a receiver and then turn all of the data it receives from the Raspberry Shake UDP stream into an input for the Node-RED flow. Now, we notice because there is a red triangle, the red triangle means on any node that it's not configured correctly. And that would make sense. We haven't told this node what it should be listening for. So you double click on a node, 1, 2, to edit it. And here we go, properties. Listen to UDP messages. That is correct. That's what we want it to listen to. On port. Now, what port did we say? We can go back to our config 8888. We want to listen on port 8888 using IPv4. That's right. And output in a buffer or a string. Now, it's important that we choose a string because a string is just a list of characters, a list of numbers, or letters. It can be a list of any characters. And a buffer is something else. So let's choose string. And if we want to put a name, we can do Shake UDP receiver. There you go. Now we have our Shake UDP receiver set up. Now we have it set up. We have not deployed. This pressing deploy is like executing the program. It's like saying, okay, save and execute. So as soon as we press deploy, this will go live. Before we do that, we want to make sure that this is actually receiving data. And right now, it's just input. There's nothing that happens out. Now, just to make sure that we're receiving data, let's go to this output node and this output section of our palette. And in that section, we can find a debug node. Now, a debug node displays the messages in a debug tab to tell us what we are receiving. It displays a message.payload in the debug sidebar. Perfect. Now, that's what we want to, because here's the debug sidebar. It'll just tell us the messages that are coming through. And right now we just want to make sure that we are actually receiving data with the UDP receiver. So it goes to a message.payload. And that should be all we need. At this moment, we want to make sure the data is being received, the UDP stream from the Raspberry Shake is working, it's sending it to port 8888, Raspberry Shake receiver, Node-RED has that port open, it's listening, and we'll be able to see the raw data come out in this debug tab. So let's press deploy, and look at that. That is all of the data that we are receiving every second, every millisecond. That is a lot of data that is coming through our UDP receiver. So we did it. We connected our Raspberry Shake with a UDP stream to our Node-RED. Now, I know I went through that video and that tutorial pretty fast. Feel free to pause it and replay it and make sure you understood everything. And here we will stop, and I'll start a next video called now processing the data with Node-RED, and we'll be building a shake meter, which will be really cool. But right now, there we are receiving our data. We've set up a UDP receiver, and that's pretty exciting on its own. So congratulations, and I'll see you in the next video.